If you've ever been told to just calm down or push through stress, this episode is for you because stress isn't a mindset problem, it's a physiological state. Welcome. I'm Tiara Duncan, and this channel is all about women's health, from hormones and nutrition to fitness and stress. Real science, real conversations, and tools to help you thrive. Today, I'm joined by Sharnise Hendrick, a licensed clinical professional counselor, EMDR certified clinician, yoga teacher, and co-owner of Lotus Embodied Counseling. Sharnise specializes in trauma-informed care that integrates the mind and body. Welcome, Sharnise.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so glad to have you. I think this is going to be a really interesting topic to dive into. So, Sharnise, when women say, I'm stressed, what's actually happening like on a nervous system and physiological level?
Yeah, when folks say I'm stressed, they're usually describing chronic stress, right? Stress has an endpoint, but a lot of folks are talking about things that haven't ended. They're talking about muscle tension. They're talking about overwhelm. They're talking about not being able to initiate the task because they either don't know where to start or have too much to organize in order to support themselves. They might feel totally collapsed. Meanwhile, the brain might be going 80 miles an hour. Or on the flip side, they may be experiencing a lot of anxiety without any perceived, I'll say real reason in quotes if I could, because there's always a real reason, but there may not be one front and center for folks to identify.
So, something I think that we have heard a lot, like women are often told, like, hey, just calm down or let it go or move on. But why doesn't the body work that way?
Yeah, it's a terrible thing to be told and to hear and to say to other people. But it doesn't work because our bodies run from detection, not logic. Our bodies are always scanning our environments, pulling in past experiences, observing things that we just may be out of our line of vision, but we're starting to feel something shift in the room or the space around us. So we can't tell ourselves to calm down. There's no amount of language that can convince the nervous system to then initiate functions for rest and regulation. If that were the case, I mean, we could bottle that and sell it, right? But
People try, right? Isn't that
right?
the pharma answer, right? Isn't
Yeah.
I would say that, and again, I want everyone to think there's no judgment here on prescription drugs, but I
Yeah.
think that that's definitely that perspective of if you have anxiety, if you have depression, if you have stress, here are some pharmacological. How do I say that word?
Pharmacological. I have to say it without thinking about it, otherwise I'll put you.
Here are some pharma solutions
Yeah.
to alleviate those problems.
Yeah, and then we see it also like, hey, do these 5 things to reset your nervous system.
Mm.
And there are never 5 things that you could do in the span of 5 minutes to reset your nervous system because that happens over time, right? Our bodies respond to predictability. Our bodies respond to safety, not telling us that we're safe, but feeling safe and supported within our environment. That's when we can really start to calm down.
Can you tell me a little bit about right, we hear about good stress, right?
Yeah.
You have a presentation coming and you've got nerves, or you have a tough workout, or something's happening and you feel kind of that feeling. But what differentiates between good stress and something like chronic stress?
Yeah, chronic stress doesn't have an endpoint. Stress has an end date, if you will. It has a stopping point. It has okay, I was stressed for this presentation. I presented. During the presentation, I kind of found my rhythm. I'm starting to feel more regulated and calm and at ease. After the presentation, I'm at rest. Chronic stress, we don't get that rest point because there is no safety, right? And I don't say safety as in someone's coming at you. I say safety as in our body doesn't perceive that it is okay to shift into those regulatory functions. And that could come from a whole host of current concerns in your environment, past concerns, upbringing, all types of things.
So making me think about like trauma, right? That
Yeah,
tends to be something that that we hear about that leads to maybe that chronic stress state. But can trauma be stored in the body if we don't have like memories of it?
absolutely.
What does that look like?
Absolutely. That looks like so there's explicit memory, right? Means that I can recall this. That's the memory that I can pull out, not perfectly, but I can verbalize that to you. And then there's implicit memory, which is, "Oh, I've got this funny feeling every time I walk into this room, or this sound makes me
Mm.
remember something, or oh, I'm smelling something, and now I like am brought back to my childhood home." The memory without language. Our language area of the brain is the last thing to develop. We develop perception before we develop words. We develop the ability to sense our environment around us before we develop the ability to not only understand language, but accurately describe what's happening.
So for listeners who aren't familiar, how does EMDR like impact the body? How do you use that as
Yeah.
therapy or a therapeutic application?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked because sometimes EMDR is presented as this like uh, fix, right? That there's no talking EMDR, it's only body centered, and you
Mm.
do it 6 to 12 times and you're healed from your childhood trauma. And
Can
that's just
you
not the reality.
can you actually break down like what the
Yeah,
acronym stands for,
absolutely.
what the application is?
Yeah, so EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, which is a mouthful. And in the world of psych, we like our acronyms. So EMDR is where we land. And the model it theorizes that if we can activate similar functions that are present during REM sleep, that can help us kind of store, file, integrate information adaptively, we can support folks who are really hijacked by past experiences, memories of past experiences, beliefs about themselves related to past experiences, so that these events no longer drive the present.
Mm.
And we can have the memory and be like, "Ooh, that stung." But it shifts from, "Wow, I am reliving this right now, and I can't differentiate from when I was 6 to when I was 36," versus, "Oh, yeah, that thing happened at 6. Ugh, doesn't feel too great. But now I have the access and the resources to support myself to stay grounded in my present age."
So what I'm hearing you say is the body or the mind without any kind of support, just reliving those experiences either through something that you smell, you walk into a room, it's bringing you back to where you were,
Yeah.
whether you remember or not,
Yes.
uh, to that event and how those feelings feel just as raw as they did when you were exposed to it.
Mhm.
So with the EMDR, how much of kind of what you do outside of that, like as a yoga teacher and the kind of mind body connection, how does that play into what you do therapeutically?
Gosh, I think it is almost one and the same for me, because I could sit across from someone, and most of the folks that come to work with me, they could sit in front of me, tell me their whole life story from start to present, without much shift. Or on the flip side, they may tell me something about the past, and it's as if it happened 10 minutes ago. So with things like yoga and EMDR and other somatic interventions, we're meeting the body's natural language, which is this. Those modalities are referred to as like bottom-up approaches. We're starting with the body and we end with language, as opposed to
Mm.
starting with verbal language, verbal recall, and having someone just dictate what happened, or reiterate. I guess is the better word for that. So things like yoga, right? We're teaching folks, what does it feel like to breathe in your body? When
Mm.
is the last time you were able to take a full breath without it feeling terrifying? What is it like when you sit and notice your back? What is it like when you check in to see if your shoulders are elevated towards your ears, and are they constantly there more often than not? So we're helping, well, I guess I'm helping folks, I'm hoping folks learn the collectively, right, in the therapy world, helping folks learn the language and the rhythms of their body so that their verbal language can meet it there appropriately. Otherwise, we have things like, I should just be able to calm down. I should be over this. It happened forever
Right.
ago. I
Right.
know
Right.
it was wrong. I should be done. But we don't really have a say over when our body finishes metabolizing, especially if it didn't have the chance to start.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing you say is like the talking through things is definitely perfectly fine, right?
Yeah.
That maybe there's this inability to then your body to process it, right? The jaw clenched, the shoulders raised, but also intellectualizing the things that happened to you, putting compartmentalizing and saying, this happened to me, I don't feel good about it, but the
Yeah.
body not connecting to that, right? And so that
Yeah.
you're living kind of in that response. So when you are working with women that are disconnected from their body, what how do I say this? Right, we hear about like stress and cortisol and all those things. Like, what are
Mhm.
some things that you would generally say to help kind of reframe that for them?
Oh gosh. I don't know if this is allowed on the podcast, but I'll usually start with just very bluntly, like, That's total bullshit, right?" I hear you telling me that you understand what happens. I hear you telling
Mhm.
me that this is fine and it should be fine, but I don't hear that there is a connection between your nervous system responding and your brain creating the language to talk to me about it. I don't see. You're talking about devastation, but I don't really see the affect shift.
Mm.
So my starting point is always observation. Like, what is it like to sit in this space right now? What do you notice? Can we check in with your lower back? Can we check in with how is it to share a room with me? Do you feel okay in this space? Do you feel threatened by my presence? Do you feel
Never.
threatened? I hope not. Right? And then you add kind of there's this the symbol of therapy, right? And it's, I'm supposed to tell you who you are. I'm supposed to tell you what you're
Mm.
feeling. I'm supposed to be able to help you move from point A to point Z really
Right?
quickly. But I'm really just along for the ride. I'm here to say, hey, I noticed this. Did you? I noticed that when you talk about mom and dad, you tense. I noticed that, yeah, that like, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
I noticed that every time you say, oh, this thing at work is really bothering me, you then follow it up with, but I'm probably being dramatic. They didn't mean anything by it.
Okay.
So how do we start to notice, what happened before you were being dramatic? What did you feel? What was bothering you? How did you know that it was bothering you? Well, I felt that pit of the stomach. I started feeling my palms sweating. I started getting this really bad headache. I started to like hear this super critical voice internally telling me what I heard growing up, and I'll never amount to anything. So I'm always trying to help folks recognize the cues that their bodies are signaling to say, hey, slow down, listen to me. I need something, and I'm trying to function and help us the best I can, but I'm running out of steam, or I have run out of steam.
Do you think that um, for women, obviously, not that men can't experience this as well, but maybe there's a tendency as caregivers, as supporter of other people, as someone that's kind of, I got my career, I got my kids, I got this and that we have a tendency, part of that disconnect from our body is we have a tendency to be like, I don't have the mental space to take care of myself right now. I
Absolutely.
have to get lunch at the door. I got to take care of an aging elderly parent. I
Yeah.
have all these things. Do you see that in your
Every
practice?
day.
Mm.
Every day. The I can't until kind of logic.
Mm.
Except there's never this beautiful carved out space that's like, all right, great. The kid has dinner. You talk to your husband about that thing. You called the plumber. You checked in with your mom. Now you get a whole hour without any notifications, without anyone needing you, without any other task. We have to
Doesn't
create
exist.
that. Yeah, it would be great if it were built in. But learning when our bodies are saying, oh, hey, when's the last time you went to yoga class? When's the last time you checked in with your friend? When's the
Mm.
last time you sat by yourself and had your morning tea or your morning coffee without also scrolling through Instagram feed or your email?
Okay, yeah. And I was just thinking about like, hey, I was just scrolling on Instagram.
Oh, me too. Yeah, right before this, I was like, okay, I have time to scroll.
Yeah, but I guess, is you just want to be careful like the doom scrolling right now, right?
Yes.
I was also thinking about like this the mental load
Hmm.
um, for women, uh, and just speaking from a personal experience as a mom and having a career, and then obviously like having this show and in the book, my
Yeah.
brain is always
It's always
on,
moving.
right? So
Yeah.
what would you tell women that are constantly making the list, checking everything, not sound like Santa Claus here, but checking it twice. Yeah,
Check it
making
twice.
the list. We're always checking in on that, like the to do.
Yeah.
What do you tell women that are just like,
Yeah.
I can't hold that space?
Yeah, when's the last time you were on your to-do list, right? And not that it's like, okay, cool, I had tea done, I'm regulated, but where do you factor in? And if the answer is like never or as an
Mm.
afterthought, that's where we start resourcing, okay, can we offload? Can we support? Can we resource in some kind of way? Is there a way to add something? And I often invite folks to consider adding something as opposed to starting by
Oh,
removing something. Like, can you
interesting. Okay.
add 5 minutes so
For
that you can
yourself.
transition? Yeah.
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 Okay. So it's
Especially with
not it's not
overwhelm.
even it's not even the issue of like having the list. It's are you on it?
Are you on it? Yeah.
Are
What
you
do you
that's
need?
a really great kind of reframe, right? And touch point. Like, yeah, I am on it. I planned this for myself, or I took this time to take a
Mhm.
20-minute walk or read a book. But if you're
Absolutely.
not on it, then maybe we need to reevaluate your priorities because,
Yeah.
I forgot the exact analogy, but like you can't, what is it? The lifesaver thing. You can't save somebody else if you're
Yeah.
drowning.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
the pulling from nothing to give other folks everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then physiologically, folks will report like inflammation. Folks will report
Mm.
chronic pain. Some folks come after being diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, saying that
Oh,
their
right.
doctor's like, "Hey, go to therapy, work on stress and mindfulness." And I can't give you a 5 4 3 2 1 sensory activity, and now this we're reversing autoimmune because of all the buildup. So let's look at how much stress you've been carrying for an extended period of time.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it goes to the point where, uh, no matter how much you try to ignore stress, it'll
Yeah,
show up. It'll
it will
manifest.
yell at you.
Yeah, it'll show up in
Yeah.
your body, it'll show up in maybe your emotional volatility, or like you said,
Mm-hmm.
like chronic pain, autoimmune. That's so interesting. So I know, there's no such thing as like a magic 5-step reset, right? We talked about that a
Yeah.
little bit earlier. But if you were to give women like, hey, you know, I don't know your situation, but if you were feeling overly stressed, here are 5 things. No, here's a couple of things that you could consider in the moment. Obviously, we're not talking about chronic stress long term.
Yeah.
You got to get proper care for that. But what are some
Mhm.
things that you would recommend?
Um, sensory things. When have you fed your body? When have you drink water or a beverage? Do you need something hot or cold? Do you need something tactile to fidget with? Um, do you need to just take a deep breath in, maybe shrug your shoulders up intentionally and release them and notice the difference? Can you take 5 seconds to just gently scan through, like from head to toe, what's going on in there? Um, I often ask folks, like, where do you exist in the room? Like, locate the walls, the literal walls of the room around you. Locate your ears, and then you are somewhere in between there. How are you feeling existing in your body? Does it need anything? Do you need to use the bathroom without doing it as like a treat for finishing, washing the dishes? Can you
Yeah.
stop racing a clock? Is there 5 minutes to start with in your day for you to just check in with yourself? Can you opt for getting up, maybe stepping outside instead of doom scrolling, or even as you're doom scrolling?
As you're scrolling through, just going for your walk.
Yeah.
At least you're getting some
Yeah.
sunshine.
Like, oh, wow, the birds sound great anyway.
Do you think stress needs to be reframed then, or kind of
Mm,
redefined?
yeah, because I almost feel like stress is too normalized and too
Mm.
small of a word to describe chronic stuff. Uh, again, stress should end. If you were stressed about a report, there comes a time where you're turning the report in, and now that should be finished. But if we're living in these chronic states of stress, something is wrong, and
And
that's so
not to
many
ignore it.
levels.
Yeah, not to
Yeah.
ignore it. So, yeah, so not to accept that living in that state has to be what we have to do, and not
Absolutely.
normalizing it and being able to take some action. I mean, all those things that you talked about, even
Yeah.
if it's just adding yourself to your to-do list.
Yeah, and oh gosh, I'm forgetting what you just said. Having to take some action, adding yourself to your to-do list, not reframing stress as strength. There's no
Ooh,
amount
yeah.
of burnout that then you get to earn rest. There's
Mm.
no amount of just bracing yourself and tolerating, I don't know, extreme conditions that ends with you feeling better about yourself. You will always feel depleted.
Yeah, that's a great point. There is that culture of or that mindset of just go, go, go. Don't be a wimp. You gotta
Yes.
push
Yeah.
through no matter what, and but that may not
Yeah.
be appropriate for, like,
Mhm.
life. For
Yes.
all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we're
this
often using strength where we should sometimes be using survival, right? Like, oh, you're surviving right now. Instead of me saying, like, wow, how do you do it all? It's like, hey, do you need help?
yeah,
When's the
you're not
last time you
thriving.
had a minute? Yeah. I
Yeah,
can tell
yeah.
something's up. Absolutely.
That's a lot. I really appreciate you kind of bringing that up. It's a lot to think about, the things that we've covered, like thinking about stress, not especially chronic stress, not as this perpetual thing that has to go on and on. Stress is not bad. But it should be short-lived. And if
Yes.
we're finding ourselves in like all the things that you mentioned, feeling certain ways or not being able to check within our body, then we need to see those as signals
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
take action. And that burnout's it's not cool, man.
Eh, Once you're at burnout, there is no, just like bounce back. Now you have to recover as opposed
Yeah.
to just add something really quick. And if nothing changes, you're going to be right back here at burnout again.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate like great conversation, great insight into how to think about stress. Cause again, I think so many of us just kind of accept it as is.
Yeah.
Where can people find you, Sharnise?
Yeah, people can find me online. The practice website is www.lotusembodiedcounseling. You can check out all of our amazing clinicians who are up to. We offer yoga classes for the community. We're also on Instagram. Lotus Embodied Counseling is our handle. So, we're around. I'm around.
I love it. Well, please make sure to check out Sharnise and the clinic
Yeah.
on all socials, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.